strangest men, they always seem to find me. Remember that time way back when I kissed a guy who ate his women friends? Now only dogs will follow me.
Is he following?
I bite at the hand that feeds me, slap at the face that eats me. Some kind of animal cannibal made impressions on me. Have we met before?
Possibly in Michigan.
In some strange department.
When picking an afternoon snack, the choice between a rotting apple core and a slice of cake should be pretty clear. The apple core. The maggot-ridden stem and the mushy texture are irresistible. Of course, most people will disagree, especially if they haven't opened their eyes to the revolution and allowed the belly of the beast to enter. Yes, you heard me. The revolution isn't a sequence of protests or storming of the Capitol or setting the world on fire, but a simple procedure to transplant the organs of a pig. At least, it was supposed to be. The ethical implications, social commentary, and economic state brought up by the idea of food-suppressing surgery are shaped by the same ideas of Marxism, particularly the proletariat revolutionizing against the bourgeoisie. When the miracle procedure first got the attention of the advocacy groups, it was proposed to be a solution for the poor so that they could be relieved from the burden of grocery costs and medical bills that result from poor diets. However, there are more malicious intents beneath the surface. This is an example proving the idea that undistributed wealth has dire consequences for those cheated by the system. The reduced need for food also benefits the state's bottom line. Instead of investing money into providing more food for the poor, the state has the poor eating garbage. The progressive appeal of eating garbage only happens after so this solution is dehumanizing. According to Marxism, the way in which society provides its people with necessities shape that society. A society where they cannot provide food to an entire demographic of people and instead resort to body-altering procedures is indicative of a poorly structured society. In a democratic capitalist governance where the proletariat are given very limited options, revolution is the only way to attain true change. This is demonstrated by the popularization of the organ transplant. The people want this change because they are fed up with lives being controlled by the elite. A societal shift occurs. Dining is outdated and eating prepared food is generally looked down on. The scar left on by the procedure is said to be a badge worn with honor. The metaphor emphasizes the social impact of the surgery and its overwhelming positive effect on people. This is a sign of communal change and progress, a world where the people would have the power. The story takes a turn when cannibalism is introduced. It depicts the revolution as violent and grotesque. The spoiling of the revolution occurs because the motives of the revolution are still partly rooted in the desire for capitalist gain. The revolution cannot truly function if it is fundamentally benefiting the rich in some way. Because the procedure elevates the cost for the state, the revolution can never work. As Marxists theorize, those who have the power will always remain in power. When analyzing the effect of surgery on the individual itself, psychological liberty theory can be applied. Psychological theory states that there is an unconscious mind people are not actively aware of, yet it influences the conscious mind. We Ate the Children Last depicts a world if the unconscious was brought to the forefront of the human mind. The operated act violently and selfishly. They are playing out all their immoral fantasies. Interestingly, not everyone is acting out as such, meaning that this behavior cannot simply be blamed on some violent gene given to them from the pig's DNA. The violent urges were always a desire in their mind. Now, they simply no longer hesitate. Additionally, the pig-like hunger makes people act according to their id. It's insatiable and acts entirely out of childish impulse. Patient D is aware that eating garbage is wrong because he's ashamed of it, but he can't resist his id. Vivid liminal imagery is used to amplify the grotesqueness of his actions. The foods he eats are described as putrid sausages, rotten fruit, moldy brie, baguettes gangrene, skins, and carcasses. This language appeals to our senses and places in perspective just how disgusting it truly is. Despite this, those who are operating only care about how amazing it feels to be strong and eat trash. The superego, which initially motivated the revolution, has been entirely overshadowed by the id. The ego has been shown to rationalize both the id and the superego in Why We Crave Horror Movies.
The explanation offered in that essay handles the desire for bloodshed with rationality rather than in We Ate the Children Last. Both narratives characterizes people as having these repressed immoral thoughts, whereas Hawking portrays horror movies as a fun and healthy outlet. Martel imagines a far more sinister outcome. One similarity between the two cases is people's initial motivations. Hawking argues people watch horror movies because it's fun to test your fears and let your reasonings relax. In We Ate the Children Last, despite its primary purpose to support the poor, the fortunate, bohemian, and chic are initially intrigued simply because they want to try something new. To them, they had the privilege to seek out the surgery purely for pleasure and social appeal. Another story to look at is Timothy Findley's The Wars. One focus of Findley's novel is the repeated abuse of animals, horses specifically. The mistreatment of animals is also present in We Ate the Children Last, but it's more subtle and implied. Of course, there's the cats and dogs that are being ravished by humans in an attempt to sustain their insatiable hunger. However, the state of swine-kind is never addressed. With such a massive spread of this operation's popularity, many pigs are going to have to be slaughtered to keep up with the demand. On top of that, they can't use any pig, they can only use the organs of the potbelly subspecies, which are already endangered. If they expect to be the least bit sustainable, the pigs will be forced to breed at unnatural rates, which raises a plethora of ethical problems. None of this is considered in the text, since the story's form is written from the point of view of a patient in the narrative and not some omnipotent third-person narrator like it is in The Wars. The lack of consideration for the treatment of pigs offers an insight into the character's priorities and state of mind. Likely, they don't bring up the animal ethics because they are too devastated by what has happened to humanity. The lives of pigs are the last thing on their mind after witnessing the rise and fall of the revolution. However, from the reader's perspective, it's notable that the animal chosen to be the donor is a pig. Animal imagery like this is abundant in The Wars. In that narrative, animals are used to parallel humanity by highlighting their deepest flaws, such as the triviality of innocent lives lost at war and the mistreatment of soldiers. Martel's stories uses animal imagery to achieve that same goal. Pigs are often attributed many negative traits. They're stereotyped as fat, lazy, selfish, and greedy, similar to how the people act in We Ate the Children Last. Those who were most aggressive would devour all the garbage, leaving only grass for the less fortunate. Even before the surgery, selfishness and egomania are present in this society. The French medical team felt so gratified by their procedure's assumed success that they failed to acknowledge the detrimental signs and side effects. They are corrupt just as police officers are, who are often called pigs. Once the cannibalization problem is finally addressed, the government proves to be just as callous as the government in The Wars. The solution is the army descending upon everyone they operated without discriminating between the law-abiding and the criminal. It didn't matter if a person played no part in the destruction of others, they were to be eradicated. This complete disregard for innocent life is portrayed in The Wars through all the civilian towns left in ruins Robert encounters. Just as most drafted soldiers, those operated who did commit heinous crimes were not doing so willingly and their fates were unjustified. In the end, Patient D mentions that humanity has returned to the norm and he must accept that no one is guilty. This is akin to real-world governments that refuse to acknowledge the atrocities committed by their military, such as the Japanese government refusing to acknowledge the comfort women, and another form of corruption criticized in The Wars. The return to form also echoes the Marxist theory that literature is used to maintain power and that the bourgeoisie will always remain in control. Ne Cochon Libre, translating to The Free Pig, attempted to fight against military efforts to suppress their newfound freedom through posters, but they were overpowered. Not only do the elite remain in power, but the surviving society has also been convinced to believe that they should not feel guilty about the human lives destroyed.
The proletariat had been successfully dehumanized and demonized. Why should the survivors feel guilty? Why should anyone feel guilty?
I bite at the hand that feeds me, slap at the face that eats me. Some kind of animal cannibal. Animal cannibal.